Do you hate the thought of working past 55 or 60? Do you hate not being able to live the life you deserve today? Do you hate not knowing what your financial future looks like? It's time to stop doing what you hate. Here's your host, Mr. Harold Green.
Aloha, everybody. This is Harold Green of Bright Tree, and it is time to stop doing what you hate. Hope you are having a great day today. I'm doing pretty good. Last night, I was up and down all last night. Couldn't sleep that well. I don't know. Sometimes I just get these things in my head, things in my mind, and I'm always kind of thinking about the next step, the next move, the next direction to take. And the reason why I'm like that is because before I used to not have a care in the world. I used to sleep until whenever I wanted to get up but if I look at my life back then and look at my life now, it's completely different, right? I have things now that back then I only dreamt about. And the reason being is because, back then I wasn't putting in the effort. I wasn't doing the things that I needed to do. I wasn't going the extra mile. I wasn't learning the things that I needed to learn. I wasn't listening. I wasn't paying attention. I was caught up in stupid stuff, to be honest with you. I was married, I had kids, but then again, I was still young, right? I was still just trying to grow up and figure out who I wanted to be when I grew up, if I could say that. But it's just been very interesting. And so had a pretty decent week. Clients enjoying their life on Facebook left and right. That's pretty cool. Others are, quietly enjoying their success, and they're, doing things and, staying off the radar and just kind of living life. And either way, I'm extremely excited and happy for all of them. And today's show, it's not going to be a super long show or anything like that, but it is going to be an important show, because this one thing keeps a lot of people stuck. This one thing, it turns people into, victims and things like that. So I want to get into this show today, and the title of it is Fear and Money. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, let's get it. And, I wanted to give you a quick market update real quick. Right now, we're in July, and we're in the season of volatility and low volume. And it gets volatile because there's low volume. It's summertime, and Wall Street is in New York. A lot of the stock exchanges are in cold weather places in the winter. And in the summer, people want to enjoy their summer. A lot of these guys make a lot of money. So they're up in the Hamptons. They're just all over the world. They're just living it up. And so there's low volume because there's nobody to really step up and kind of buy the dips. I'm not saying everybody's on vacation, because that would be cool. I told my wife the other day, I said, you know what, if I could just take the whole summer off and just rotate everybody into safe mode, and then just no matter what happens in the market, we made enough for everybody. So let's just put it in safe mode and, go to Europe for 2 or 3 months, or go to Japan for 2 or 3 months. But that's not what it's all about. If I want to help my clients get to the 3% and stay in the 3%, we have to be active all the time. So today I'm going to be talking to you folks about some stuff and how we can prevent the fear of money from becoming a snare to you. And so I'm going to call this the fear question of the week. And I've been getting it, and I see it on people's faces. And the question is what happens to my portfolio based on who's the next president of the United States? And as I told my clients before, I said, you know what? I really have worked so hard to take that question out of the picture. But it's a valid question. And so one of the things I talk about is the first thing we look at is we look at the impact that each political party will have on a particular sector. All right. For example, if Trump gets in, he's going to have a big impact on the energy sector. And he's going to have a negative impact on healthcare sectors and things like that, right? Because it's just, they're not for universal healthcare, although they're floating bills around for universal healthcare and different things like that. But, and then if the other guy, Biden, stays president, he's going to have an impact on other sectors. Like right now, he's they're having an impact on the technology sector with this whole thing with China. And so what it is the news is rapidly changing, and you have to be right there, ready to execute whenever you find the opportunities. And so, number one, understand the sector impact. Number two, do your research, right? Find out what's going on. Find out who's been beaten up, who will be beaten up, different things like that. And then number three, take action, right? I tell my clients all the time, you can't just sit there and not do anything and just say, okay, well, let's let this play out. No. In some cases, you kind of know how it's going to play out. Like right now, we were in the middle of a sharp rotation to small caps and different things like that because the Fed started talking about interest rates and so on and so forth. But let me tell you this real quick. This is it's an investment show. So investments do carry the risk of loss. Before you invest any money, do your due diligence, understand your risk tolerance, understand your time horizon, because past performance is no indicator of future results. Before you invest any money, make sure you seek professional advice, get two or three opinions on what it is that you're going to do, and just make sure that what you do buy or what your investment advisor is buying is part of a well balanced, overall, comprehensive financial plan. And anything I say in the show is meant for information purposes only. I do not want you trading on anything I tell you in today's show. It's for information purposes only. You can go do your research, and then before you take action, make sure you have the appropriate level of risk tolerances and you have the plan in place. So I like to hit you guys with scriptures. And so I'm going to hit you with Proverbs 29:25 before I dig into this. All right. So the Proverbs 29:25 says, the fear of man brings a snare, but whoever trusts in and puts his confidence in the Lord will be exalted and safe. Now, I'd say the fear of anything brings a snare or a trap. Anything, fear of anything will bring a snare or trap. Fear will also cause you to make very poor decisions. I've seen that quite a bit. And my thing is, I used to make a lot of bad decisions, but one of the things I did is I now use my fear of not wanting to be homeless again to propel me and many others to a pretty good level, I think. We're not Rockefellers yet or anything like that, but we're making progress. And so, and you know how I talked about earlier, I was just kind of going through life, caught up on crazy, stupid things, not paying attention to what I was supposed to do. I say that about myself, but other people say, yeah, you got it all together. But I knew that I did not have it all together. I knew that I was not doing everything that I could be doing. And so today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be discussing, some of the things that people fear the most about money. And this is some very important stuff. And I'm going to kind of like not get too deep into it, but I'll just kind of like give you guys the meat and potatoes, and then you can go get your side dishes or whatever and put around it. So one of the first things that people fear is not enough money. You like, no joke, right? Duh, of course. And one of the things I found is that, not having enough money leads to anxiety. It leads to depressions, depression and stuff like that. And then it also leads to, more bad decisions, stuff like, well, you ain't got enough for, retirement. So I might as well enjoy my life today. And then, retirement would just kind of have to work itself out. Like, I don't work with those people. And if you are clients, don't refer those people into me because, first of all, like I talked about in my last show, you need to be able to follow some kind of structure. And these people don't follow structure. They follow their feelings and not structure. And I don't want them as clients. And a lot of times, the reason why people don't have enough money is because of either bad decisions or they're stuck in a job with no upward mobility. And I kind of talk about this a lot where people will say, like, why are you still in that job? Well, I like the boss, or, I like the hours, and, it's close to my house and stuff like that. And, like my mom lives around the corner, and, like my family's here, and like my friend from high school, like people like they get into jobs and they stay in jobs for all the wrong reasons. Now, if you're providing healthcare to a loved one, that's a different story. But a lot of these reasons are just like, it's just like whatever. And you will not have enough money if you stay stuck in a bad job or a job with no upper mobility. I also talked about last time how you have to improve your skills and things like that. A lot of people are just like outright lazy. They don't want to do anything. So therefore you can't feel sorry for them and they're just going to be stuck. Now, the other thing people fear about money is like losing a job. And one of the things that I tell people all the time is you should always have your resume up to date every single year, like with your skills, all your accomplishments, like everything that you've done, because that way you'll have something to sell to the next employer, right? You always got to have your sales pitch ready to go, like selling yourself, like I did this, I did that, like, I added value here, I did that. And then have references to back that stuff up, people who can prove you did what you did, because that way you make yourself more valuable. Like in this world going forward with the advancement of AI and all of this technology, and you not updating your skills and your abilities and your knowledge, you are a sitting duck. I'm going to say that again. Without you updating your skills, your abilities, and your knowledge, you are a sitting duck. And I'm telling you now. Now, if you have enough money and like say, you got 500,000 or whatever, and you maybe, you got like 4 or 5 more years, I think we might need to talk ASAP, because in the next 4 or 5 years, you could be out of a job. And what you are going to want to do is grow that asset as quickly and safely as possible over the next 4 to 5 years. You cannot just sit there in mutual funds and hope that it works out and hope that you do not get fired. You need to take action. And I'm going to encourage you to do that. And I think, okay, and I can't guarantee it, but I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. Okay. You should always be networking, expanding the group of people that you know, professional organizations and things like that. Now, everybody's busy, but if you've been doing these things, you will always be able to land on your feet no matter what happens, right? That like a cat got 9 lives, land on your feet. You got to land on your feet. The third thing I see is people, debt phobia. They scared of having debt. I don't want any debt. Debt is bad. Debt is not good. And in some cases, the way you could multiply your wealth is with the effect of leverage, right? Leveraging appropriately. Now, this again is an investment show. Investments do carry risk of loss. You have to understand your risk tolerance and do your due diligence. And if you can effectively understand how to leverage things, it could have a multiplier effect at the right time. I'll give you an example of what I did. Okay. I'm real big on life insurance, real big on life insurance. I'm real big on investments. I'm real big on life insurance. I'm just real big on having money, right? I'm just real big on that, whether it's in the investments, whether it's in real estate, whether it's in a business, whether it's in cash value, life insurance, whether it's in precious metals and coins. I don't care. I am big on having money. Now, how you get more money is by leveraging your assets appropriately at the right time in the right things. And what we've been able to do with our clients that are of high risk tolerance is we've been able to leverage assets to phenomenal levels at the right time in right stocks and right options. You just have to be able to do it at the right time. Now, we're not timing the market. We don't market time, but we do work to pick trends in certain positions and build strategy around those positions and around themes. And then we can leverage when it's time to leverage. So when interest rates go down really low again, then we will pick up our leverage game. But because interest rates are high, we're sitting on a lot of cash right now. And so we don't need to leverage because we got a lot of cash. We have a lot of cash. We kind of moved out of some investments, took our profits on these options, and now we're sitting on a lot of cash. Okay. Now, I don't believe in sitting that cash in bonds and things like that because the opportunities come too fast, right? With our scoop and score strategy, and if you become a client, I'll share more about that. We have to have a lot of cash all the time, okay, to take advantage of these big dips that we see here and there. Now, paying off debt, that will not allow you to leverage anything because you have no debt. Your return and your reward is sleeping at night with no debt. You can't complain and say, "Oh man, I wish I could do this and I wish I could do that." No, your goal is not having debt. So if that means you can't take the trips you want to take, or be able to just kind of do more things in life, that's the cost. Okay, and I see people like that all the time. I just don't like debt. Well, you're sitting here telling me you want to do one thing and you want to do the other thing, and it's like the only way you're going to be able to do that is through leverage. You want to buy a house with no debt? Great. Good luck saving $1.5 million over the next 30 years with inflation eating into that, taxes eating into that. By the time you get ready to buy the house, it's going to be worth $3 million. This is stuff everybody knows, but emotions play a big part. The fourth thing is getting sick. And a lot of people, 3 in 5 people go into a long-term care situation and they don't have the proper insurance. They don't have proper long-term care insurance. They don't have proper healthcare insurance. It's just not enough insurance. And so what I tell my clients is this: I do believe in long-term care, but I also believe in self-insurance to a point. So I had a client, I think I might have shared something about this before, but somebody was trying to sell her something. And, like, hey, take this cash and go buy this policy and so on and so forth. And I said, no, let's not do that because within the next 10 years, if you ever go into a long-term care situation, you could be sitting on quite a bit of money. And so thankfully, she took my advice and we're still working some things out in her plan, but her portfolio is already up. I want to say like $200,000 since we had that conversation. So, honestly, she has enough already just in that one portfolio alone intermediate bucket to cover her long-term care. She has a short-term bucket, an intermediate bucket, and then she has a long-term bucket, and then she has life insurance that has things in cash in it as well. So she's well set. And so sometimes people will try to like force you into something that you don't need to do. But having enough insurance or being properly insured is a stopgap to that situation. Okay. Number five is a sticky one. We're going to be talking about marriage and money here coming up soon, but getting a divorce and then spouse taking half of everything you own. I mean, that is a big thing. And so in our next show, we're going to talk about how to protect yourself from that. I can't tell you how to have a great relationship, but what I can tell you is how to look at money from a marital perspective. And so we'll talk about that. Number six, like not enough money to cover kids' education and so on and so forth. I'm real big on education for kids. I'm not real big on education for all kids because all kids don't need the same kind of education. And so we've been just kind of cookie cuttering it throughout our society and trying to say everybody should go to college. But now we have a shortage of skilled workers and skilled laborers because everybody looks down on that now. Everybody wants to be a YouTube star, a TikTok star, and all this other kind of stuff where they don't got to get their hands dirty. Fast food restaurants are going to robots now because kids used to do those jobs part-time after school and during the summer, and now they're too good for that kind of stuff. And parents are at fault, right? Parents are at fault. We got enough money. Why do my kids need to do that? We got enough money. Ew, like that's like low level stuff. I built character, I built resolve, I built resourcefulness when I went through those situations working part-time when I was in high school. And I had to work with adults. I had to work with adults that didn't make good choices in life. That's why they were stuck working in fast food restaurants. I learned a lot about what not to do when I was a kid. And my mom wasn't teaching me those lessons. Life was teaching me those lessons. And so as a parent, if you don't allow life to teach your kids lessons and you're just covering up every single mistake they make, you're creating a monster. I'm going to tell you that right now. Okay. And a lot of you know that. And a lot of parents have stepped back and said, hey, we're going to relook at this thing again. We're going to say, okay, let's look at getting you educated a different kind of way because your grades suck, right? You don't have good grades. So why am I going to pay 50 grand a year to send you to college and you already got bad grades anyway? Just because you're bright, but you're not bright from a mathematical perspective. You're not bright from a literary perspective. Like you don't have what it takes to go to Harvard, something like that. So everybody's like, so just go to a middle of the road school and just get like an education and then find a job. Well, employers aren't looking to take those kind of people. I'm going to be very honest with you because if you're mediocre coming out of college, guess what? You're going to be a mediocre worker, and companies don't want mediocre people, right? So you're going to have to reevaluate how you educate your kids, how you bring them up. So therefore, you don't run into that situation where everybody has a college degree with jobs that are making $30,000 a year or 40,000 a year or 50,000 a year, and you paid 180 grand for an education. Why? I'm not going to beat that up anymore. Number seven, not enough to pay bills. Okay. People are afraid, like, okay, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. Like, how do I get out of this? Well, probably you're stuck in a bad job and you need to move to a different city or a different state or maybe even a different country. Who knows? But lack of moving and upgrading your skills will put you in that situation. Number eight, like fear of the next thing that will break. Some people walk around like nervous all the time, like afraid of all the time. Like, what if this happens? Like, what if the stock market crashes? Like, what if my car breaks down? Like, what if this? What if that? This is where you need a plan. Okay. This is where you need a plan that will encompass those types of things. And I'll probably talk to you about that at the end of the show. Number nine, not able to retire or having to work too long. Some people are like, oh my God, am I going to have to work forever? And I'm going to tell you the reason why people can't retire when they're supposed to is because if they are investing, they probably have been making the wrong investment choices, or they have the wrong type of retirement plan, or they're adding money to the wrong type of assets and things like that. This is all very important, all very, very, very important things. Okay. All very important things. And so you got to have a better investment strategy. If you're going to be investing money and you don't have a better investment strategy, it's kind of like, you need to buy a new car, but you keep buying these used cars and the used cars keep breaking down. They keep breaking down. And you're thinking, well, at least I have a car. Well, your car keeps breaking and it's not going to always get you from point A to point B. It's going to break down on you somewhere. And your retirement plan is the same way. If you don't have the right things inside your retirement plan, something's going to break somewhere and you're going to have to keep working or you're going to have to go back to work. And with my clients, I do not want that. And number 10, and this is one where having a plan will help with this too. And it's the death of a spouse who makes the most money, or even just period the death of a spouse. You could be the breadwinner, but if you lose a spouse or a loved one, you could just go into a spiral and go into a deep depression where you can have all the money in the world, but yet the loss of the spouse is too great. Or you might be working, you might make more, but you haven't saved everything and you don't have the proper insurances. And so having a plan that covers, if something were to happen to your spouse, you lose your spouse, you take the death benefit, you invest it, and you use the returns on the investment every year to pay the mortgage. I tell my clients, if you lose your spouse, we're not paying off your house. I say that again. I tell my clients, if you lose your spouse, we are not paying off the house. We don't do that. We invest the money. And then eventually, what I want is in the next 10, 15, 20 years, the house will be paid off because we invested wisely, and we were able to do it. Because what I want is, you still have to retire if you lose your spouse, right? You can't work forever. And if you have the right amount of insurances, one of the things that come up is we use the investments to also buy cars and different things like that. And so we just don't want you just paying everything off and saying, okay, everything is all paid off. Now what do you do? All the money has been sunk in the house. It's been sunk in the debt. So we lost a client, I think about a year and a half ago, and I don't remember exactly how much, they had left over, but I want to say it was about, I think all told, it was somewhere around $500,000. Okay. With between his retirement money and some of the other things he had. And then some of the insurances might have taken it up to six. But, right now they're sitting on almost $1.2 million because we didn't pay everything off. We invested it wisely. We've doubled that money in a year and a half instead of paying that off. Now, these results are not common for everybody, but it depends on the risk tolerance. And it also depends on the season that these things happen. Just so happened, the way he died was just like a freak thing. Nobody expected it. It was like all of a sudden out of nowhere. And he hadn't retired yet. And the problem with that is because he hadn't retired yet, his wife couldn't collect his pension. She could collect some of the money that was in the pension pot, but she couldn't collect the monthly that he was supposed to get, which would have been like $3,000 or $4,000. And so that was just insane because he worked for a municipality or whatnot. Okay. And so these are all the things that people without money normally fear. But then there's also the side where people who have money, they also have fears too. And one of the things I see, which it depends on how thick your skin is and then how you got the money. All right. Fear of what others think when you get money. So say you running with a tribe that, again, they never had anything. All of a sudden, Uncle Joe dies and leaves you $3 million. And now, like, what? So now you got this issue. You can either say, all right, I'm going to get a new tribe and I'm going to like get out of here. I'm going to move to a better location. But here's the problem with that. If that's not how you thought all the way up until then, chances are within about a year or two or three, you're probably going to be broke. And that's what happens when people win the lottery. So that's an issue. But if you are successful and you continue to grow and you continue to get more wealth, then sometimes people do think, okay, well, again, it depends on your tribe. If you just say, I don't care, I'm going to live my life and do my thing, then great. Another thing is fear that people will like make you into fear that money will make you into a bad person if you have too much of it. And somebody said to me when I was in Hawaii, I don't think they listen to the show, but if they do, thank you for tuning in. But I told them that I moved to Las Vegas and I still have my place in Hawaii as my neighbor. And he said, what do you do with your Porsche? I said, well, I sent it to Las Vegas. And I said, because I wanted to have it out there and drive it out there. And he said he thought, or something like he thought I was going to leave it here. And I said, well, if I left it here, I would have to buy another one out there because I'm not going to drive anything other than a Porsche. And and he said, if you can do that, it means you have too much money. And I said, bro, too much money is $34 trillion of debt. That's too much money. All right. You got to put this stuff in perspective. And honestly, I don't really care. If I want to have a Porsche here and I want to have a Porsche there, my financial plan would allow me to do that. Am I going to do that? No, not right now, because I have other things that I want to do. But I don't worry about like people getting mad at me because, I have too much money, or I'm going to turn into a bad person or a jerk because I have too much money. I do my best to stay as humble as I possibly can, whether I have $10 million or $500,000. It's about your personality. It's about your humanity and your humility and how you look at other people. Because getting a lot of money shouldn't make you look any differently at people than you normally do. You shouldn't be like all puffed up, high minded, like now I can buy this, now I can buy that. Who cares? because you have other things you need to focus on and pay attention to. And if you did that, most likely you're not going to be staying in the 3%. All right. Another thing I see is leaving money behind for kids, and it ruins them. And this is something I'm going to be talking to my clients about because, you leave your child $20 million and they never really had a job that made, 100,000 a year. What you think going to happen? It may or may not end well, but we want to take that guessing game out of it. So in the next 3 or 4 years, we're going to be putting together a program where we get together with families that are high net worth and we begin to work with them, talk to their kids about what's going on, talk to their kids about the system that we have in place, because long after they're gone, I want my firm to continue managing everything. And the reason why is because I don't want to grow your wealth to 10, 15, 20 million. And then you just go give it to your high school friend. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. It's just because he's your high school friend, or you leave it to your kids and they go give it to their high school friend. That doesn't make any sense to me. We want to keep it in the system because the system is what got you there. And if you take out of this system and put it in another system, within 2 or 3 generations, it'll probably be all gone. I'm going to tell you that straight up. All right. Another fear they have is fear of losing it all. Like once you get it, I've heard it said, wealthy people, they fear losing money. So they rather make a little bit than lose a lot of it. They rather make a little bit than lose a lot of it. And again, that just depends on the strategy. And a lot of times, the fear of losing money brings a snare. And because of that fear, they end up trusting the wrong people. They end up putting it in the wrong places, right? We're going to protect your money. We're going to keep it safe. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Yeah, that's all promising, but you need to have a plan that makes sure that to ensure that happens. That's very important. And then the last one I see is fear of getting ripped off or taken advantage of. Like I go through this a lot. And, people will come to like my house to do stuff. And the worst thing I can do is open my garage. That is like the worst thing I can do because I try to take them to the back gate or whatever. I do not want to open my garage because as soon as they see what kind of cars I have in my garage, the first thing they think, oh, this guy has money. This guy can afford anything. No, that might be true, but it doesn't mean I'm going to waste my money just because you want to like try to rip me off or try to like get one over on me or try to like mark something up more than you should. No, I'm not stupid. All right. Just because I have money doesn't mean I want to stupidly give it over to you just because you think you can get one over on me. Like successful people don't become successful getting ripped off. I'm going to say that again. Successful people don't become successful by getting ripped off or taken advantage of. They have a way that they think about things. Now, when it comes to something that you really want, if you have wealth and it's not going to kill your overall plan and you have space in there, then yeah, you go for it. But you don't just let people, okay, I don't know much about money. Like somebody left me this money. So, if I lose it, it's not that big of a deal to me because I didn't work hard for it anyway. That's the wrong mentality that I have. And a lot of wealthier people that I know, they don't think that way. Now, here's what's going to happen. I want to talk to you about something real quick. And it's one of the scriptures that once I figured out what this was, it's hard for me to go back. And it's Proverbs 12:24. And it says, the hand of the diligent will rule, but the slothful will be put to forced labor. All right. That got me right there. Now, a lot of people say they read the Bible, but they don't understand what they're reading, not one bit. The hand of the diligent will rule, not the hand of the lucky, not the hand of like whatever, or the hand of the diligent. So diligent is very important. And then I see a lot of people lacking diligence today. Okay. Very important. Or the way I see it is you're going to be forced into situations where you have absolutely no choice or no control. Lack of diligence will put you in a situation where you have no choice and you have absolutely no control. And that makes you a victim. And I don't like that. And so right now, I'm going to be very honest with you. Okay. And I'm about to wrap this up. I'm going to be very honest with you. If you are listening to the sound of my voice and understand the words that are coming out of my mouth, most likely you still have some control and some choices. And if you have any of these fears, there are 2 things in addition to what I said earlier to you that you can do, right? 2 things, and probably going to give you a bonus. Number 1, learn. Educate yourself because knowledge has a way of erasing fear. When I first learned how to ride a motorcycle, man, I was scared. But as soon as I got on it, boom, the fear went away. Because I learned, I had a knowledge, I experienced, right? Most people fear the unknown. They don't do things because they don't know what's going to happen. All right. Number 2, become skillful and diligent. Like, make yourself valuable so that you'll always be marketable if you fear a lack of money situation. All right. A lack of money situation. And I talked about those earlier. And this is another one. This is a bonus. So you can hire somebody trustworthy to guide and provide counsel to you if you fear a more than enough money situation. Like, what others going to think of you, becoming a bad person, ruining your kids with money, losing it all, like getting ripped off or being taken advantage of. You can hire somebody, a good financial advisor, A, B, a good investment manager, B, C, a good CPA, right? D, a good estate planning attorney, or if you run a business, a trademark attorney or patent attorney. Like, I have one of those. We have compliance attorneys. I hire people. Like, I hire people. I am not afraid of paying money I pay fees. I'm not afraid of paying fees. That keeps me out of trouble. A dedicated bank rep, somebody that you can call every time you go into the bank. You don't get like 10 different people. And the last one, and this is very important. The last one is going to be I think, a good psychologist or a therapist, right? Mental health is very important. I don't have a psychologist or a therapist. I do my best to read my Bible and pray and talk to God about my problems. And every once in a while, I'll talk to my wife because I think the stuff that I share is so heavy and so deep. It kind of does something to her. So, for me, I try to like not talk to too many people about what I'm going through. But to have somebody, professional to help you deal with the emotional side of having a large amount of money is important. Having a lot of money is great. However, there are obstacles on the path to keeping your wealth and your sanity at the same time. Like, you can get money and lose your mind. I've seen that happen to people. And, my final thought is this. What if you could put yourself in a position so that, like, no matter what happens or comes up, you'll know exactly what you should do and like how to go about doing it. Like, what if you could do that? Like, no matter what happens, you have an answer for it. No matter what happens, you got an answer for it. This happens, boom, we do A. Boom, this happens, we do B. Boom, that happens, we do C. We're not sitting around scratching our head and wondering where the help is going to come from. We have a plan. And that's what this is. It requires a plan. And most people are afraid because they have no plan. Investment ideas, not a plan. Financial ideas, not a plan. Putting money into a life insurance policy and not doing anything else is not a plan. Just putting money in your mutual fund every month at work, your 401k, is not a plan. Now, thankfully, you're doing something, but that's not a plan because it's not comprehensive. And if you want to put yourself in a position where you erase the fear of money, check out my show notes, get on my schedule, and let's see if we can make that happen for you. And so until next time, everybody, don't be afraid. 1, 2, 3, let's get it.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.